Hello, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio, the only podcast in all of e-commerce, to my knowledge, that features hundreds of success stories from students who are following the programs taught on the podcast. That's pretty cool. Today is no exception. We've got a couple of great guests here in just a moment. They call themselves partners, but they're operating their own businesses based on the strategies we teach. But as with so many great students in our community, they're working in full synergistic cooperation. They're tapping into the power of leveraging each other's knowledge to help them both grow. They don't see each other as competitors. And we say that all the time around here. In our Facebook group, for example, one of the mottos with our 73,000 members is, you are not among competitors. You're among a group of business building warriors who want you to succeed, because we believe anyone can have as much success as they'd like to have without taking any success from anyone else. And we've got loads of proof that it works, with hundreds of success stories, like I said, interviewed on this podcast. Just scroll back in time, you'll see them, as well as about 1,900 tagged success posts in our free Facebook group. There's a link to that at silentjimdotcom if you've never seen it before. We've coached coming up on 10,000 people over the past 20 years with a beautiful team of 60 coaches who have proven their competence by building beautiful businesses with the strategies we teach. And they've also demonstrated that they have a teacher's heart. So we've recruited them in. That's who our coaches are. If you're interested in being mentored by one of our most successful students turned coach who's running a beautiful, successful business, reach out to us. Again, the link at silentjim.com. But today's guests, they've gone through e-commerce for quite a while now. They've been experimenting around. They've sold everything from coins and books, and they've searched clearance aisles for good deals, and they've been familiar enough with those models to know that, yeah, they can make some money there, but it's not scalable. It's not automatable. You can't build a system and just release it. It's a business you have to be in all the time instead of something that you can turn loose and let others run for you. Well, they wanted a real business that they could automate and scale and step away from while it continues to produce income. And that is getting into the REPLENS business model that we teach around here, which is the basic business model that we start all new Amazon sellers with, because it teaches you the foundation. While putting money in the bank, you are learning some incredible techniques and strategies that will serve you well as you climb into some of the more advanced strategies. So they both have done that, and they've started getting into branded bundles as well, which means they're finding everyday, common, recognized branded products that are selling well on Amazon, and they've put them into their own branded bundles, and they've launched those. So we talk about how their businesses are doing, their experience with coaching, their experience with the proven Amazon course content. They've built beautiful businesses. They're very excited about our live events as well, which they've attended. We talk a little bit about that, including our May 23rd through 25th, 2024 event. That's right. We already got it on the calendar. We're going to Orlando, May 23rd through 25th. Get details at theprovenconference.com. I'll stick a link to that in the show notes for you, along with all the other links that we're talking about. But just a lot of excited energy, a lot of great topics. We talk about the use of credit cards and finding money so that you can pursue all the great inventory that you're finding, what the most responsible way is to get funding so you can grow more quickly. Lots of interesting topics today, like I said, and you're going to enjoy hanging out with Nichole, Wrona, and Elizabeth Aronson, two good friends who are also great friends of this community and emerging leaders as well, I would argue, because they're really doing well and they have a teacher's heart, as you'll soon see. Well, let's jump into the episode. Enjoy. So, hey guys, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Looking forward to getting into your story, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Elizabeth, how about we start with you? Hey, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, sure. So I first started very briefly into e-commerce, and I want to say it was probably 1999 or 2000. I did a little bit of eBay, was selling silver dollars on eBay, and it was back when like people had to send me a check, so it was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And I did that probably for about 6 months and then stopped.
Okay.
And then in 2020, the end of 2020, a friend of mine was selling used books. He was just starting to sell used books. So he told me about that. So in January 2021, I started doing used books. I was going to Goodwill, scanning all the books. I was doing a 100 books a week challenge and just sending in as many books as I could. And then I think it was like around March or April, there was like a storage, like they were increasing the long-term storage fees or
Yes.
something like
That
that
kind of
at
killed
Amazon. I
the
can't
book
remember exactly.
opportunity. Hmm.
Yes, yes. We were calling it like the storage apocalypse. And
Right.
I was brand new and it scared me because I'm like, I can't recall all these books. What am I going to do? So I started searching on the internet and I found RA. And so I was like, okay, so March 2021, I transitioned to RA. So most of 2021, I was kind of transitioning to RA and just trying to get my books out of there because I didn't want to pay the long-term storage fee and I didn't want to recall them. And then I found Silent Sales Machine in, I want to say, I think it was about March or April of 2022. It was through another seller who told me about you guys. And so I joined PAC, really liked it. And I actually ended up going to the conference last year
Oh,
in
cool.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my first one. So that was in July. I started coaching, RA coaching in August of 2022. I did 6 sessions with that. And then we, met Nichole through that time and we started wanting to transition to bundles. So in December of 2022, I contacted Nathan Bailey at Humminbird and we got that ball rolling. He switched my coaching to bundle coaching with Leanna and him. And I got my trademark going through Humminbird and I have 5 bundles going and working on my 6th. So that's where I am today.
Fantastic. Well, Nichole, fill us in on anything that's been left out so far from her story and your own background on getting into e-commerce as well, and then we'll go forward from there.
Sounds great. So I got started right about the same time Elizabeth did. Ironically, we have a lot of similarities in our businesses and how we started, although I didn't start with books. How I got introduced to e-commerce was actually through a friend of mine who had been selling on Amazon and eBay for about 10 years.
Okay.
And she's done very, very well. She has a different business model, though, and she partners with MLM companies, and she's been able to do really well with that model. But she had kind of encouraged me to consider Amazon and, look into it. And it was March of 21 at that point. And I had just left my position at the hospital. I'm a former speech language pathologist, right, smack dab in the middle of COVID, and it was chaotic. And I just knew it was my time to transition elsewhere. And so, having my friend that was in the Amazon world, she really encouraged me to start looking into it and watching YouTube and learning from other sellers. And so that's what I did. I dove right into YouTube, and you find a lot on YouTube that isn't necessarily the best. It can kind of reel you in with all of these hook, line, and sinkers. And I was quickly sold, but I think what legitimized it for me was having someone who had done it, who had been in the Amazon e-commerce world. And I knew she was very successful. She's a multi-million-dollar seller, so she does really well. But I knew that that wasn't going to be my model. So I started kind of learning about retail arbitrage. I knew that, going into stores and shopping, I love to shop. I knew that I could probably figure that out and make it work. And so I did. I went in and I was doing, kind of the hunt and peck model where you're scanning and you're looking and
Treasure
you're
hunt, right?
combing all of the, yeah,
Yep.
yes, combing the clearance aisles and just trying to find anything you could. So I did that for most of 2021, actually. That's really the model that I went after. And I hit a good amount of success in my first year. Within about 6.5 months, I hit my 6-figure mark in sales. And so that really was like, wow, this can work.
There's something here. Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty
Yeah.
impressive. Within 6 months, you had $100,000 of total sales.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's decent margins in that too. It's total hustle mode to do that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive. Well done. It just shows what's possible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that gave me the confidence to keep going and keep building. And once I hit that mark, it was kind of like a milestone I knew I wanted to achieve and I looked forward to hitting. But I knew there needed to be more to keep it sustainable and to, have it really as an income. So I continued on, and ironically, right when I hit that 6-figure mark, I ended up coming down with COVID that October. So I was fine. It was no big deal. But, I have 3 children, and as a mom and the holidays, it's busy.
Yeah.
So I had to come out of the COVID sickness stuff and start focusing on, oh my goodness, I have to prepare for Thanksgiving and buying Christmas gifts. And so my first Q4 wasn't great. It was rather disappointing because I had such high hopes, but it's okay. After Q4 ended and I started 2022, I began to kind of rebuild. So I transitioned a little more into online arbitrage at that point and tried that model in addition to RA. And it wasn't until the end of 2022 that I really learned about your community and the pack. And it was through my relationship with Elizabeth and some other sellers, and they talked about how great the community was. And I thought, oh my goodness, how have I been selling so long and had never known about this? But it was a testimony to your group and what you've given back to this community, that you have such a large following and people want to tell others about it. And it was pretty amazing to me that, Elizabeth had gone through her experience and she had this coaching, and it was a whole new world for me. I didn't even know coaching existed.
Right.
So, yeah.
A great background. Yeah. And thank you. By the way, if you didn't know, maybe some of the listeners don't know, if you do, that we've never done any advertising. Word of mouth is literally the only way we've grown this community. We've been doing this 20 years. It's pretty incredible. But we keep talking about doing some paid marketing, but good people keep kind of wandering in based on referrals. And that's how we've grown. Just a network of people helping each other grow each other's businesses is really what the community is. That's especially the free Facebook group. And it's just such a powerhouse of good content and info. I benefit from it every day myself, learning new things. So appreciate the kudos for that. But so you guys got connected at what point in 2022? I mean, not that long ago. You guys started working together. So you still maintain your own separate businesses.
Correct.
But you're doing this kind of a cooperative partnership sort of thing. How's that work? So, speak to that a little bit. Because I think some other people might be curious, like, wait, aren't we all competitors? And no, we talk all the time around here, like, we are not a community of competitors. We're doing this together. It's probably not prudent to publish your entire list of the exact items you sell in our group, obviously, but that's kind of public information at the same time. If you get on and search for sellers and see what they're selling and see what you can learn from their stores, it's not like it's all a big secret. So how have you guys navigated that partnership? Either one of you, I'm just kind of curious.
Okay. We met there was another mutual gal who kind of started this little mastermind, and it was 6 gals of us at first, and it eventually whittled down to Nichole, me, and there's this other gal, Carrie, who we're really good friends with. And that was in like October of 2022. And we've just we talk every day on Marco Polo. And actually, Nichole and I met at the conference this year for the first time in person.
Oh, but I love it. Just a few weeks ago in Columbus. Here we are, July 2023. Yeah. So just a couple of weeks ago.
Yep. So it was, that was the relationships I cannot speak to enough, and it's like, I feel like not only a business relationship, but a lifelong friendship that I'll have with Nichole and our other friend, Carrie. So you want to speak, Nichole, as far as like how we navigate our business part?
So I want to reiterate what Elizabeth said, that really the success of your business is who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
I am a firm believer in me gaining the knowledge I have, not from my own doing. It's really from everyone else teaching me, and me being willing to share with other people as well. And that's the beauty of our partnership, is that I don't see us as competitors. I see us as partners. We are interested in helping each other be successful and improve. And we share almost everything. There's nothing off topic with us. We know each other's, Amazon store names. We know our brand names. We share leads together. It's really been wonderful. And I think that's the beauty of the Proven Conference in general. One of the biggest things for me that I took away was how many people you really can build relationships with who want you to succeed.
Right.
And that comes from a genuine place. And Elizabeth and I and Carrie, the three of us, that's our goal, is to help each other succeed. And we've navigated a couple of challenges along the way, because originally we thought we could partner, the three of us, and build one brand together with Nathan Bailey's help through Humminbird. But it ended up being better that we all brand registered separately, and it has worked out beautifully. So we're thankful that we can partner together and really help each other build our businesses further.
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom in that decision as well, I would say, because, I think it's a Dave Ramsey quote: the only kind of ship that won't sail is a partnership. And I know what he means by that. You can't do business alone, obviously. None of us should. And this word partner means different things to different people at different times, right? But just that camaraderie, tapping into the synergy of having other people that see what you're doing without having some legal document that forever binds you together, and that has to be someday, shredded because it just, something doesn't work out. You have divorces and health situations and kids that go crazy and need your time. They make bad decisions, and now your life is all about taking care of a sick, in-law or something.
Yeah.
So those kind of lines of separation really are kind of a nice thing. Okay, this is my business. I'm gonna help my partner, but that's their business. And this community is full of those kind of arrangements, like you just described, where you've got your business, it's yours, it's under your name, but someone else is in under the hood all day, every day with you, helping you, and you're helping them. And that synergy, again, it's like that old analogy. If you got a horse that can pull 1,000 pounds and another horse that can pull 1,000 pounds, together they can pull like 4,000. I think they can pull two. No, together they pull four. Business is built that way. That synergy effect really kicks in. So I think you guys, it sounds like you've both benefited from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Nichole, just a shout out to Nichole, is, I needed a product, and where she lives, we're in different states, and where she lives, she was able to get it. So she went and purchased it for me and shipped it to me, and
slapped your labels
I don't know
on
what
it.
I would have. Yeah, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
She shipped it to my house. Yeah,
that's great. Either way, and we hear of other families. They've employed friends and family around the country, and they send in the supplies. And like, hey, go to this store, buy these items. I'll pay you for your time, right? So your network becomes. And I love how you just said it, Nichole. The people you surround yourself with, that is your business success. I completely agree. Having watched this for a long period of time. Like that old Jim Rohn, you show me the people you're hanging out with and the content you're consuming, I'll tell you your future. It's not rocket science. So yeah, you guys have figured that out.
Right.
So let's dive into, I know you guys kind of went from books and coins and eBay to kind of the treasure hunt model. For those who don't know what we're talking about there, retail arbitrage. You can make decent money, as Nichole you mentioned. You sold $100,000 worth of product in about 6 months, just looking for deals on the shelf. Now that's hustle mode. I don't recommend you do that very long. It's a tough way to make a living. It's not scalable, but it can kind of prove the concept. We like the REPLENS model, where you're buying stuff that's easily sourced. You can sell it over and over again. Anytime you need more, you go to the store and you get more of whatever it is, online or retail. But you guys moved from that very quickly into bundles, it sounds like. Is that the bulk of your business now for both of you?
Not yet, but that's the goal.
Getting there?
That's the
okay.
goal.
Well, break that down a little for me for each of you, and whoever wants to go again. Just how much is REPLENS versus traditional RA, OA? How much is bundles? Like, what's it look like?
I would say I am probably 60% OA, 40% RA. I have 5 bundles that I've launched since the end of May. I'm working on my 6th one right now. So yeah, I'm really new with that.
Okay, just a few months into bundles then.
Just a few months in, but really ready to ramp that one up.
Nice. Okay. Now, how about you, Nichole?
I would say I'm about 70% RA right now. I do have several REPLENS coming from area retailers, and I've been able to develop relationships with the store managers. And so they know I'm coming in, and they'll set things aside for me, and that's been fantastic. And then I
Are those
do
smaller
about
retail?
20.
Sorry to interrupt. Are those like smaller retail store, regional retail, or are these like chains? Bigger
This
chains?
one, the one of my biggest suppliers is a regional retail chain, but it's specific to the Midwest.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Just to give
yes,
people an idea of what's possible. It's not a locally mom and pop only one stop store. It's a chain, regional, but
correct.
still building
Yes,
relationships with managers. I always like to emphasize that. So sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
that's okay, no problem. And then I have about 20% OA and 10% wholesale.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're doing some wholesale in the mix as well. And would you consider your
Yes.
business as replens, or are you still doing some of the treasure hunt model?
Mostly replens, but I do still do, if I go in, it's hard not to say, oh, this is a fantastic deal. I'm going to
Right.
buy it. The
Absolutely.
treasure hunt model is fun,
It
but
is.
like you said, it's not sustainable and it's not scalable. So I do still like to, find those little nuggets here and there, and those are great. But
Yeah.
I do
Why
have a
not?
lot of replens.
Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. And how about you, Elizabeth?
Yeah,
Any treasure hunt?
I have a lot of replens, but I would say the OA is more the treasure hunt,
Gotcha.
or some people might call them sale plans.
Yeah.
if you
I've been
Yeah.
hearing
prefer
that
that.
phrase. Yep.
Yeah.
Sale plans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to go back and get more later, but you can certainly take advantage of. I call it, no reason to walk past the $20 bills sitting on the shelf. Go
That's
ahead and
right.
grab
Right.
them. Right.
And when you start learning certain places have certain sales, however many times a year.
Hmm. Nice steady rotation. You can just work the same cycle. We have
Yep.
people that
Yes.
work just one retail store and
Wow.
just hit the sales cycle on that one retail store, and they know the sales cycle, and that's their business. And I would argue that's kind of a replen. It's just you can only buy it during certain periods of time.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
So the strict definition of a replen is I can go get more anytime I need to, pay full
Mhm.
retail price, and still come away doing well. But those sale plans, I like that term. Someone actually used that. I recorded a podcast episode yesterday that hasn't been published yet. Someone used that exact same term. So I'm starting to think, yeah, this is a term that's going to catch on in our community. Yeah, there's no reason to shy away from those. Just we like the boring. The more boring the model, the better. If I can teach
Right.
someone, and one of the bragging points on my team, for example, is I can teach someone to be a shopper on our team in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Here's a link
That's
to
nice.
the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
There's the stores and the products. Go buy them. You're trained.
Yeah.
Track your time,
Yes.
drop it off here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's it. So that's simple, boring, repeat. We run out of something, we go buy more of it. You don't have to track, oh, is
Right.
it on sale or not? And,
Right.
just that's a little extra level of complexity that easily absorbed as you grow, for sure.
Mhm.
Right.
Well, what else? Tell me more about your bundles. I'm kind of curious. I'd like to hear more about the how that's going, how that came about, how you got your ideas. And it sounds like it's kind of in its infancy, though, for now. So I'm not sure if there's many monetary results to report yet, but I'd love to hear, what it looks like.
So I heard it wasn't a podcast. It was Leanna and Nathan. They were talking about it was the whole generic issue. When that was
Right.
the big thing, everyone's like, don't sell on generic anymore because they're taking down the generic listings. And I had this one replen that I loved. It was so great. And it got taken down because it was a generic.
Mm.
And then I heard Leanna and Nathan on that, whatever it was some kind of Facebook Live or something where they were talking about this. And then they started talking about branded bundles. And I can't remember which one said, it was like, take that generic listing that has been taken down and make a bundle out of it. And I said, there's my first bundle.
Absolutely.
That's what I want to do. So I contacted Nathan at Humminbird and I got that rolling. And then I started talking to Leanna and told her my idea. And so she helped me figure out ideas with, a unique item and that kind of stuff. And it took a long time to get it to launch. It took a few months for me to get it to launch, but so it's in its infancy, and I have a good profit margin on it, and I'm getting some organic sales on it. And so, going to start learning about some other strategies, PPC and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, throw a little advertising money at it, perhaps give it a little boost.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
that's great. We had it. Yeah, we do have. There was I think it was probably that GTIN issue.
yes.
G10,
Yes.
right? When everyone was freaking out. Oh no, Amazon's pulling down all the multi-packs. Well,
Yes.
if you pull down any of your good listings, make a bundle out of that. and get it back up there, and you'll be the only seller instead of one of a good number of sellers. We've had a lot of people take advantage of that. There's so many opportunities. Anytime there's opposition, it's an opportunity. Every single time there's a challenge, there's opportunity in that, because it's going to scare away some people. And those of us who kind of step back and go, wait, okay, the game just changed for all of us. How can we take advantage of these new rules? What new opportunity has been created here? And it was certainly the chance to jump into bundles. And I want to make sure I mention, inside the Proven Amazon course, I'm sure you guys have probably been made aware of this, but for the listeners, the Proven Brand Building course is a module that's included, and it talks about creating your own bundle and getting into, and we've actually got some brand new bundle content coming as well from Nathan and Leanna, who you've mentioned, that's due out soon. So yeah, some great bundle content already created and some new content coming for sure as well. Yeah. So how are those sales going for you though, Elizabeth? What's the numbers looking like? And like any given week, how many have you sold? Now, it's only a couple months ago, but sometimes it takes a little time to ramp these up. But how is it going?
It's going, I would say it's going good. I'm ranking, I'm indexing, all these terms that I'm learning. So it's going good. I actually do have one bundle. The second bundle that I made is really taken off, and I have a wholesale account with that one. And the supplier is out of stock. So I keep raising my price because I don't want people to order it so much. And I'm getting like one order a day still, even at a really high price.
You're trying not to run out of stock so you don't lose your rank. But people
exactly.
Yeah.
I think I only have 7 left. And so the gal I talked to at the company, she said at the beginning of August, we should be good to go. So I will drive to go pick this up. It's going to be a 3.5-hour drive, but I have to get this in stock.
Wow. Yeah.
Because it's concerning, because I don't want my listing to
As soon as you get your hands on it, list it merchant fulfilled, right? It's good to go, guys. We're in stock again. I love it.
Absolutely.
And then send a few in. That's great. So you're the only one on the listing. It's under your brand. Beautiful. It's as good as having your own private label product, because Nichole mentioned earlier on, one of the multi-million-dollar big offers she saw on YouTube is like, get into private label. We're going to help you find your own product. I mean, that's a tens of thousands of dollars, 9-month to year-long journey that 95% of the time does not work out, especially if you're a new seller. So why not do the approach that you're talking about here, where you go to a listing that is selling, and you create a unique bundle around that brand, under your brand. No one else can sell it. Hey, you got a private label product. You didn't have to invent or import anything. So that's how we kind of ease people into the concept of having your own product on Amazon, is these bundles, these branded bundles. So well done. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, what else can you tell me about your businesses? Just help me fill in some more details, or any numbers that you're willing to share, either one of you, just to give people a point of reference about the size of your business and how it's going, and maybe dive into some of the net margins and that sort of thing. Either one of you prepared to share some of that?
Sure. You want to go, Nichole?
So in 2021, I ended that year with a net margin of 25%. And, it's interesting because I had this assumption that, I'll have this margin and I'll be able to maintain that margin. Well, what I learned through this process is that as you grow, of course, there go your expenses, right? You have additional things you're paying for, maybe additional apps or, subscriptions, or adding a VA or a prep center, which I've done all of the above. And what I didn't realize was that in order to maintain or increase that margin, you would need to then increase volumes significantly. And that's one thing that I learned through this. Into 2022, I started with a VA. It was probably about mid-year, and added a prep center at the end. So I finished 2022 at 19% net margin. And right now I'm sitting right about 18%. So, still fine net margins. It's funny when you have that burst at the beginning, and, I didn't have a lot of additional expenses that really would cut into that now more than it did before. So things are going well. I'm excited about the bundles. And as you mentioned, Jim, I think it's important for people to know that if anyone has any interest in doing something on their own with their own listing that they've created, branded bundles is really a wonderful way to go, because you have a lot more control than you do on listing on others' listings that they've created. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited to see where the bundles takes me, and we'll go even further, hopefully to the moon after this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're on a great trajectory, and you guys have accomplished a lot. So, yeah. How about you, Elizabeth? What's the business look like for you?
So I'm a one-man show. I have not done a
Okay.
prep center or anything like
Okay.
that. And I think I'm maxed out. If I focus on my bundles, I got to do research and I got to do, all the things that you have to do to launch a new bundle, then I can't source as much. And then if I prep, then I can't source as much. So I'm at, I cannot crack 25 to 30,000 a month in sales on my own. So that is where I'm at. And my biggest challenge is I got to figure out what to outsource first.
Gotcha. Are you doing all your research for your own ASINs still? I assume because
Mm-hmm.
you're a one-man show. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you committing a significant amount of time to still finding those new replen ASINs as you're entering this new season?
I try, but that's so that if I focus on the bundles, I feel like my sourcing goes down, which makes my sales go,
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah, you're
grow.
at that point where it truly is as a one-man operation, 25 to 30,000. And you're wearing all the hats. That's going full speed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good income. It beats having a real job for sure. It's flexible and all the other benefits, but to break to that next level, typically what I suggest is you need someone else finding ASINs for
Okay.
finding good winning replens. That's your first hire. Some
Okay.
people, like including Jimmy Smith, he says it's time to get someone to do some of the dirty work, putting tape on boxes and that sort of thing. And I'm okay with that advice. Just you don't want to eat so much into your margin, right? Like Nichole mentioned, as you start bringing people and tools to help automate your systems, that's expense. That's money out of your pocket. So I like to see that first hire be someone that's putting more money in your pocket. Now you've got some margin to play with without taking a hit in your total income. You got some extra income to spend on that person. They're kind of paying for themselves, if you will,
Right.
with real revenue. So they're
Mm-hmm.
finding ASINs with you and for you, which typically that's going to be a virtual assistant. It could be a family member, someone that's willing to work for a few dollars an hour that you show the system. But it's nice to kind of leverage the virtual assistant opportunities that are available to us in places like the Philippines, where $3-4 an hour is a fantastic hourly wage, 3 to 4 times more than the average hourly wage on the island. And you get one of them trained and going at it hard using the training and systems that you've come to use as your own, looking for new ASINs for you. Now you're waking up each day, you've got a good handful of ASINs to review. It's saved you several hours and they're generating revenue for you. That's typically the first hire I like to see people make.
Okay.
You're adding revenue and you're leveraging in this $3-4 an hour worker. That just doesn't cost a lot of money, and you can reward them and change their life with that amount of money. I met at our conference here just a couple of weeks ago where you guys were at. I met a doctor who was going to be working in the Philippines, fully trained through university, westernized medicine, university, modern medicine, for $5 an hour. That was going to be their starting salary in the Philippines.
Wow.
So they were building an Amazon business to enhance and add to and make more money. Isn't that incredible?
Wow.
It just puts it in perspective. Because when you say $3 or $4 an hour, some people are like, oh, wow, that's slave labor. Like, no, that's actually one of the best jobs you can get on the island. And that money goes very far. It spends like, 7 to 8 times that amount of money per hour.
Right.
Yeah. That's a really good perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good leverage point.
Yeah.
You talk about leverage points where you give a little bit of effort and you get a lot of result. Like that is an under-recognized leverage point for all of us in e-commerce. Having someone else do the repetitive work. They would love to do the repetitive work. Many of them are unemployed or they're working for $1 an hour.
Yeah.
And highly, typically on the island, they speak English well. They're very well trained, very fluent. They love working for American-based companies. They love the U.S. dollar. It's a really good. It's a really good arrangement. I met someone I interviewed on the episode here not too long ago that was doing the same thing with Vietnam because they had connections there. Very similar economic. There's a gap there. So the U.S. dollar really goes far still, thankfully, in many places of the world. So yeah, that's my advice for your first hire.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, we'll get back to the program in just a second, but I've got to tell you about the great sponsor today, Seller Board. Get over to silentjim.com/numbers. Spell it out. silentjim.com/numbers numbers. You're going to see a link to the tool that has become quickly the preferred tool in our community for helping you track your numbers, helping you know which of your ASINs are making a profit and which ones you should walk away from, at least temporarily, because you're not making any money. It can be fairly tricky to know and dial in all the Amazon fees and all the expenses. Well, that's what Sellerboard helps you do, among a whole bunch of other things. It's a great tool that's become a great sponsor of this community. We've helped send a lot of very happy users their way. They've got a great discount for you as well. Get over to silentjim.com/numbers and check out Sellerboard. You're going to love what these guys are up to. It just keeps getting better and better, and their starting prices are so ridiculously low. It becomes a bit of a no-brainer. Go check it out. That's Sellerboard at silentjim.com/numbers. Let's get back to the show. There's a gap there. So the US dollar really goes far still, thankfully, in many places of the world. So yeah, that's my advice for your first time.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's great. I think, ultimately, Elizabeth and I are in a very similar spot as far as having so many things on our plate with not a lot of time. I mean, we all only have 24 hours in the day, but we're not working 24 hours a day. Then you're sleeping part of the day and you're taking care of your family part of the day and your spouse. And it's a lot. And I think that's really good advice, Jim. I appreciate hearing you say that adding someone who can provide the value to your business in looking for more ASINs. That makes sense to me. And I think for me particularly, I'm hoping that I can find someone that will maybe even source wholesale leads for me, both wholesale accounts, and then once I've applied for those accounts, then sourcing their catalog, because the wholesale accounts I have, their catalogs are massive, and it's hard to get through all of those products.
Yeah. Two thoughts. One is they're not going to be any better at it than you are, because you're going to be the primary one training them. And we've had some success training VAs for people, but we've kind of paused that because we're starting to notice some unhealthy trends with it, where we were expected to do all the heavy lifting, and I want a fully trained, work 24 hours a day, provide me 30 great ASINs a day, and they didn't even know what a great ASIN was themselves when they were asking for this. Like, no, you need to know yourself. You need to have your own processes and systems based on the proven Amazon course systems.
Right.
There's dozens of ways to find winning replens, but which ways do you use? I think my theory has become now, it's far more powerful to have someone that's been trained to do it the way you do it yourself, and they've learned your systems, they've using your tools. There's no one size fits all strategy here. So that's the first thought. And the other is, I think you should check out the proven bot sourcing content.
Okay.
Because if you're scraping through some fairly large wholesalers that you've built a relationship with, man, there's some really good stuff there for scraping through large databases and kind of automating and systemizing that. Even some of the tactical arbitrage training from the oasimplified.com module. That's a module, that's a module in the Proven Amazon course. The Proven Bot isn't, it's separate. I'll stick links to both in the show notes if anyone's confused, but just getting a little better at scraping those large databases is time well spent for you for sure. But those scrapes, just keep in mind, it still requires manual research because those scrapes are just looking for exact matches.
Right.
And we both know that the keyword and the dig into page 2 and 3 is where a lot of the good stuff is. And that's a manual process. But the Proven Bot sourcing is introducing some tools that really help speed up that manual process. So you put that into the hands of a good virtual assistant, and it's a pretty straightforward gig for them to pound through large lists of potential winning products. And that's what my team does. We've got our hands on a handful of databases that we just kind of scrape through and then go back and scrape through again, because everything's changed by the time we get from top to bottom, new products and new pricing and new categories even. So that can really fuel your entire replen effort. One good VA. So a couple thoughts for you on that.
That's good.
Perfect.
Yep. Get in there, and there's lots of great conversations in our Facebook group on how people are finding VAs, where they're finding them, and even I think there's even some standard operating procedures. I know for a fact there's a course inside the Proven Amazon course on how to hire a VA. Like, where do I go to look? What do I do? One of the things you're going to notice when you go and put a job on one of these job boards, and there's a bunch of them, and I don't have necessarily a preference. I've used several, but you put out a job, you could get 400 responses. It's like, whoa, what do I do with this? So just a little tip. One of the things I've always done is I put most of my instruction in a little video, like I'll record a screen capture video with instructions. Like, this is what the project will involve. Here's what kind of response I'd like to hear back from you. And I want that, and this is what I always say at the end of the video. I'll say something like, the first line of your response back to me must be, I like purple monkeys, or something ridiculous, right? And so as I'm filtering through these 400 applications, only 10% of them are people who understood the way I speak and communicate English. Hey, that's kind of nice to know that because they put that line at the top and they paid attention to detail. So the other 90% are instantly eliminated, right? So now I've got my list of 40 or 20 that I can reach out to and know, like, okay, they paid attention to detail. They watched the whole video. They understand when I speak English, which is important because I'm going to be communicating to them with little video clips as I train them, right? So we know we can communicate now. So this is one little tip like that. So those kind of strategies, there's a little mini course inside the Proven Amazon course that talks about that and some other tips as well, hiring a VA. But it's not rocket science. I mean, remember, you're not paying them $50 an hour. You're paying them 3 or 4. It's like, come on, let's try 3 or 4 of them out and see how it goes, see which one goes to the top. It's and then you can really change their life and they'll just love working for you. So yeah, I'm excited. I think that is a obvious next step for both of you, in my opinion.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, and I think I see we talk about it all the time, don't we, Elizabeth? Yes. We're strategizing. What do we do next? Is it, are we going to go this route or that route? And that's really great that we have each other to brainstorm and talk about things, and we'll see where it takes us. But I do agree with you, Jim, that adding that manpower is essential to really get to that next level, because the time is difficult, having so much on your plate with so little time. It's only so much one person can do. So
yeah. Well, it really starts to tip in your favor once you get that first person hired and they're bringing in more revenue. You're like, okay, I'm making a little more money now. I'm spending less time to make more money. I think the next thing I'm going to let go is putting tape on boxes, right? Yeah. Bring someone in. Yeah. You can open up your garage or find a neighbor who has some extra space in their garage, or, maybe there's a prep center near you or something. But I like to see that kind of, rather than committing all in on a prep center, I like to kind of phase into it, find some local solutions. But one of you said you're using a prep center, but that was you, Nichole, right?
Yes. Yep.
Are you all in on the prep center, or what percentage?
Well, so it's kind of ironic how it happened. I started with the prep center at the mid to end of 2022. And then when I started moving into more branded bundles, I saw my numbers and I was like, gosh, I really need to scale more than what I did to justify that added expense. So I kind of pulled back, and, right now my husband's doing a lot of the prep. And hopefully, when I'm ready to put the gas on again, I'll reinvest in that. But right now I'm seeing, with my branded bundles, a lot of my time at the beginning of 23 was trying to learn the bundles, understand brand registry, investigate which items I wanted to bundle. So I've seen a lot of videos with, different recommendations on whether you have a prep center or not. But right now I'm not quite justifying the expense just yet again. So
sure, I understand fully. Yeah. And for a lot of people, it doesn't make sense. There's some very big players in our community doing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and they do their own prep, and they like it that way. They've run the numbers, and they'd rather have their own place with their own workers coming in, handling their product. Just makes more sense for them. Then we have other people that just swear by the hands-free. I don't want to need anything but my laptop. I own no lease on property. I've got no employees. I've outsourced everything. I just make sure that my inventory is profitable enough that I can justify the extra expenses of having a prep center, have someone else doing the legwork, right?
Right.
So, it's to each his own. But for both of you, you're trying to free up some of your time. So I think a lot of times that is the next step. It doesn't have to be a full prep center. It can be someone, like I said, come into your house, picking up the supplies they need once a week and all the inventory, loading it up in their big van, some homeschool family, and like, hey, this is an extra couple $100 a week for us guys. Let's do this as a family. Like those kind of arrangements are out there where you can just kind of offload it and you do the math and like, wow, okay, I'm freeing up a lot of my time for $1 a unit. That makes sense. And so you pull the trigger. Now you've got more free time to work on your business instead of being buried in it constantly, right?
Right.
Which is, I think that's how you get from 30 to 60 a month or to 80 a month. You actually work less going from 30 to 60 a month, $1,000 in sales. The hardest work you'll ever do is the 0 to 5,000.
Oh yeah.
That's that. You've got your systems, and you're like, well, okay, if I put in more time, I make more money. And you put in as much time as you can, and you kind of start to cap out around 30 or so. Like, well, I can't work any harder. What do I got to do? Well, you add more people in. And you're not working anywhere near as hard, and you're making more money. It's the power of synergy and team, and freeing up your time to be more creative, get into try to snap on new streams of income to what's already established. So that's the path you guys are on. I love that you're doing it together as well. That's so great. Well, what other topics do you guys have? Is anything come to mind? Anything else we could dive into that you think might be relevant for the listeners, or maybe more of your story?
I would just say, if I could give some tips on anything, I started to kind of go down that path when discussing the prep center. The biggest thing I would recommend anybody does, and this is just from my experience, it doesn't necessarily mean it's everyone's experience, is when you're ready for that prep center, be ready to also then increase volume at the same time. Yeah. And the reason I say that is because you're parting with that extra profit. But if you don't increase the volume, you're either staying steady or you're going down, obviously, in your profit. Right. So that's the mistake that I made. I went in with the prep center and it was great. And I was still profitable in my business, but I didn't amp up the volume to compensate for that. And so be ready to increase your volume significantly once you have your prep center on board.
And Nichole, that illustrates beautifully the reason the classic advice I give to people when they say, okay, what's the first person I should hire? Well, you kind of hired a prep center. Like you felt the sting of that drop in revenue and net margin, basically. That's why I say, okay, the first hire, let's make it one of the harder hires you're going to make, but it's going to bring more revenue instead of taking revenue out. And now if you can get that first one right, and you can even do it again. Once you've hired one VA, hey, why not hire another one? Yeah, let's get to. I interviewed a guy last week. He's got 35 virtual assistants.
Oh, wow.
Like, wow, this is great. Every time I hire a VA to find more winning inventory, I make more money. So let's just keep hiring more VAs to help me. And now they're running his whole system as well. So he's got a team. That's the guy using the Vietnam virtual assistants. That episode will be out soon. But 35 virtual assistants.
That's incredible.
He's making a few dollars per hour, running literally every aspect of his business, including managing his teams of VAs, right? He's just been very systematic about it because, again, he recognized that lever point. Like, wow, I can get I can duplicate myself, basically, in this little part of my business for a few dollars per hour. Why not just go all in? And he did. It's going really well. Right. So
that's amazing.
But you start with the people who are generating more revenue, not with the people who need a little of your revenue to keep your operation running, to free up your time. That's right. Make those hard hires first, I guess, is a good way to say it. The people you got to really train and make sure they're bringing in as Dave Ramsey says, and that's where I heard this saying the first, who should I hire first in my business? He gives this advice to all businesses. When you first start, you're wearing all the hats. At one point, you're like, I got no more time. This thing is not going to grow. Right. I am tapped out. Who do I go hire first? Do I go hire someone to sweep the floors, to clean up after me, to do the stuff I don't like doing, the stuff that's not in my gift set, the stuff that my personality just doesn't enjoy? Or do you go hire somebody that can make more money for your company? That's who you go hire. You go hire a sales rep. You go hire somebody to find more ASINs in our business, right?
Right. That's good.
Yeah. So right. I love that we re-emphasized that. I think that's really going to help some people that we hit that so hard today.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so, because that's really, where I feel like I can give the most value is discussing things that maybe didn't go so well for me, but somebody else can learn from. I'm not afraid to talk about that and give advice. And I would also say, don't be afraid to pivot. If you get too comfortable in one business model, you might not be able to achieve all that is ahead of you. So, if you're stuck in RA, don't be afraid to try and dabble in some other things to expand your business. So pivoting for me to branded bundles was the best move, and I look forward to seeing where it goes from here. But just don't be afraid to pivot and try other models as well.
Absolutely. Good advice. Yep. A lot of opportunity out there. Well, what about you, Elizabeth? Any tips or any other topics that you wanted to jump into?
I would just say, along with that pivoting and growing up because you guys have like that little pyramid,
Mm-hmm.
maybe just don't let go of what was below. As I go into branded bundles, I don't think I'm going to let go of my replens
No, you
and that
should.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
There's actually some classic marketing advice that the first time I heard this story, it changed the way I think about business and especially e-commerce. And basically the question was, I think it was a Dan Kennedy. He's a famous marketer and before e-commerce even. But he said, let's say that it costs, every lead that you get, he was talking to salespeople, but this applies to our business and what you just said. Let's say that every qualified lead you get makes your company $20. And you've got an opportunity to spend $1 per lead, an opportunity to spend $5 per lead, an opportunity to spend $10 per lead. Remember, each of those leads is going to make you 20. Which one of those three do you pour your money into in order to generate those $20 net profit clients? The one, the five, or the $10 leads? And typically people will answer, well, maybe the one, or I don't know, the one and the five. And no, the answer is 100% without hesitation, all three. You max out the $1 leads, then you max out the five, then you max out the tens. You're making money on all of them. But you go after the low hanging fruit and then right? So I've interpreted that over into this business and I've talked to so many people like, yeah, we used to do that and it was working well, but then we got excited about this. So we shut that off and now we're over here doing this instead and it's not going so great. Like, why did you turn that off? It was profitable. Put good systems and good people in place and in charge of keeping that machine running. That's how you build multiple income streams. And it's not you running around like a chicken with your head cut off, spinning all the plates. It's you putting good people in place and systems in place so you can step away. And then you check in and you monitor and you maintain a relationship with whoever's in charge of that process. And that's how I run my Amazon business. If I sell on Amazon, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, all of them. I love it. I love checking the numbers, but I've got good people in place. I don't have to be in the nuts and bolts of those businesses. I can be off doing other things, launching other income streams, putting good people in place in those. So I'm ultimately left doing only the things that only I can do. And that's a pretty short list. It's just about everything in any of these business models. I'm not the only one that could be prepping boxes. I'm not the only one that could be finding ASINs. I'm not the only one that could be checking my account health, especially when you got a pool of talent, $3 or $4 an hour, they're all in, live, eat, breathe, and sleep your business, literally while you're sleeping because they're in the Philippines, right? So it opens up a lot of, so do not abandon what's working. You're like, oh, the margins are only 15%. Okay, turn it loose, let go of it, let it operate at 15% and go tack on some other stuff. Many businesses would drool over 15% net margins.
Right.
Especially if you're turning your money over multiple times per year, that 15% net margin turned over, let's say 5 or 10 times a year, that's an incredible return on investment over the course of a year for your money.
Right.
So I love that thought, Elizabeth. Yeah, thank you for doing that. Because sometimes when we talk about net margins, people think, oh, wow, I spent the whole year and I only made 15%. No, that money got turned over multiple times.
Right. Yes. And that's how I came out of, 2021 on that high of 25% net margin. And I was, had false expectations that would be easily, maintained. And I think I did start to say, oh, wow, what happened? But it still was good. 18% is still really good. And so that's a good point to make. 15% margin is phenomenal. And to be happy with that, that's wonderful to hear that, that's still good. It's great.
Oh, it's fantastic, especially when you're talking about taking very small risks. Make it happen. Your worst case scenario is your inventory sells for break even. You go find new ASINs and It's just such a low risk business model. You stick to the rules, never buy more than a month's worth of any inventory, inch deep, mile wide, diversify your risk across several ASINs. You're not launching a private label product that takes $50,000 of hoping that it works out someday and filling your garage. No, you're taking little risks along the way. Even the bundles that you talked about launching, Elizabeth, we didn't dive into it, but I'm sure you didn't make more than a handful when you launched these bundles. You didn't send in 800 units. You sent in 3 or 4. Let's see how it goes. A very low expense. Right.
Yeah, you still have to test bundles because test everything. Test every ASIN, even your own branded bundle.
That's right. Yeah, test very, very few units and just see how it goes. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and that's okay because you're testing small. Yeah.
I would say if anybody's interested in bundles, the best thing and what I've done for my bundles is I created bundles out of products that already sell. The winners for me, the easy REPLENS that have sold like crazy. Now I know that could be a phenomenal bundle. And that's the strategy I've used for my own bundles.
Yeah. You can go into Amazon reports and say, okay, what has sold the best for me over the past 6 months? Right. Just rank it out. Total dollars or total units or total sales per eyeballs. What's getting a lot of eyeballs? Sometimes the stuff that's getting a lot of eyeballs, but not selling real great because there's a lot of competition. That's good. And Amazon will tell you that in the reports and the seller reports. You can see, okay, what's getting a lot of attention? Which of my ASINs are getting the most clicks and views? That can be a great place to start. Distinguish yourself because you've got a very high odds just by using the brand names involved in that product and that category of product. There's gonna be a lot of people just stumbling across it because it's smoking, it's flying off the shelves. It doesn't matter how you feel about it or what your instincts say, or if you think it's a relevant product for the current mood of the culture. Like, no, none of that matters. Just use the math. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Product is irrelevant, right?
Yes.
What are people looking for? And Amazon will tell you that. Yeah. Have you ever dove into your sales reports in that way and looked at some of the data they give you there? I think it's fascinating.
Yes. Nathan gave us Nathan Bailey from Humminbird gave us a recommendation on where to find some business reports and how to analyze those numbers. And he's been a wealth of knowledge for us, and it's been really helpful to know where to go because sometimes in Seller Central, it's not very obvious where you're supposed to go to find these things.
Yeah, there's a lot there, but you can click around and you're not going to break anything. Just look around, see what they got, and the data is fascinating. I love going in there and just sorting the columns. And wow, had no idea that this product that we sell a couple times a week, there's thousands of people a day seeing that ASIN, and there's a lot of sellers on it for good reason. That product is smoking. Or if something gets a lot of drops on Keepa, wow, there's something there. There's some potential there. I bet I could create a bundle out of that. People who bought this also bought that, create a bundle, put it under my branded label. Without any pay-per-click, you could just create a winner overnight with the bundle strategies. So there's a lot of opportunity there. We're super excited and bullish, especially for people who have that $5,000 or $10,000 minimum per month REPLENS understanding. Yeah, start looking at some branded bundle. There's opportunity there. I'm so glad we spent a lot of time on today's episode kind of hitting that theme because we have some great new content coming, and we also already have the proven brand building module inside the proven Amazon course. Again, just to repeat myself, that is some great content to help you start to distinguish yourself, create your own ASINs with bundles. All right, so what else is on your guys' mind? Any questions for me or any other tips? You guys have given some great tips today. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Do you have any tips on whether you would recommend taking an Amazon loan versus opening another credit card? Because that's also on my mind of which one. I hear, two different schools of thought on that.
There was actually, I haven't listened to the session yet, but I believe it was one of the sessions at our most recent Proven conference talking about, at least during the course of the session, they talked about maxing out the use of free credit cards, to the point where there are students in our community that have more than 30 credit cards that they've opened.
Oh, wow.
With a great credit score, by the way, because they're paying it all off before it's due. Yeah. But they've got, depending on the day of the month, they've got a different credit card and they're filling it up, turning it over. maxing out the points, maxing out, really tracking and digging into all that free money. Because if you've got a good credit score, there's a lot of free money available to you. Now, I'm not suggesting everybody rush out and do that, because until you're predictably good at turning $10 into 20, you don't want to be out there maxing out a bunch of credit cards. That's not what I just said. But if it's inventory you know you're going to have to buy anyway, and you're looking for additional lines of credit, max out what's available to you for free first. And then Amazon actually doesn't have that. Their offers aren't all that bad. Although I don't want people to make the mistake of, hey, this Amazon money gives me a little advantage. Amazon's going to like me more. They're less likely to suspend me now. No, none of that's true. Completely separate financing department from anything policy enforcement. It doesn't give you any advantages in the marketplace whatsoever to take a loan from them. 100% positive on that. So now they're competing with great organizations like AccrueMe or Seven Figure Funding, some of the great sponsors of our show. There's all kinds of creative ways to find money out there. If you're good at turning $10 bills into $15 or $20, hey, you're going to have people that want to give you money. But I do like to see people use the free resources that are available to them first. The 6-month no interest credit card offer, right? And then once that's done and they tack on that 21% interest rate, we're done with that one. Don't want to risk
Right.
that. Cut it in half, sign up for some others. People really do play that game at scale. And, I don't, but there's people who do, and they swear by it.
Okay.
So there's some free money out there. I really like AccrueMe and Seven Figure are two of they're very friendly in our community. They love our community for a reason. They understand our business models, and you're kind of bringing on a bit of a partner when you work with them.
Okay.
If you go to silentjimdotcom/funding, I believe is the link that will take you to AccrueMe. I like their offer. They'll give you $500. I don't know if they're still doing it or not. You might want to ask them before you sign up, but $500 on a gift card just for getting funding. And that's money for you. Like, here's a pile of money that you can use for your business. And oh, by the way, here's $500. Thanks for signing up. So they've got some cool offers they do. And Seven Figure Funding's been working with us for a long time as well. I'll stick a link to them in the show notes too today for those who are interested. But two really solid companies that they'll have a conversation with you, and neither one of them use a credit check process. It's just, hey, how's your Amazon business doing? That's how much money we can lend you. If you've got $50,000 of inventory sitting out there, we'll loan you money based on that. Almost consider it collateral, right? Because we know there's value in that. Worst case scenario is you're going to sell that for at least what you paid. So you've got some collateral there. We'll loan you money against that. And that's how those funding systems work quite often. So absolutely, if funding is what's holding you back, you're finding more valuable inventory than you can find the money. There's lots of creative solutions. Even a family member or a friend who's got some money, that's a nice ROI. Anybody with money is looking for places to put it right now. 100%. Especially there's never been as much money in circulation. It's kind of scary, actually. 80%, I think something like 70, 80% of the money in circulation right now in the United States was printed in the last 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Which is
that's crazy.
There's a lot of money out there.
It's
hard to find places to put it to work. So if you've got a system that can put that money to work, there's no shortage of people ready to slide you some funds in hopes of sharing in some of the benefit.
Okay, great advice. Thank you. Yeah. That's just one of the challenges, I think, when you're trying to ramp up your business and truly scale, is making sure, that you have, if you want to purchase all this inventory, you have the funds available, and that you're making smart choices with that funding, like you said. I'm really kind of fiscally conservative and financially conservative, so I just really am cautious about that. Yeah, but I do realize, in order to make these bigger steps, I do have to, take some financial risks.
Yeah. So, yeah. Leveraging other people's money is the heart of capitalism. I've got an idea. You've got the cash. Let me do the work with the idea, and I'll give you your cash back plus some later. That's capitalism, right? It's putting the available capital to work instead of just letting it kind of sit around in piles. Hey, I'm the guy that can put it to work and turn it into more money. And that's what your business is. But yeah, you don't want to over leverage yourself. So if something does go wrong, it's the same reason we say don't buy more than a month's worth of inventory. And the pushback I get is, well, Jim, if I buy 10,000 units, I could save 30%. I'm like, but that's not a risk worth taking, because even that 30% discount may not be enough to protect you from the other circumstances that could come along. Someone bigger than you buys 100,000 units for a fraction of what you just paid. Now you're stuck, right? So we take these small risks. Same thing with our use of leveraged cash credit. We want to take very, very small risks, wade in nice and slow. Slow and steady wins the race. Wealth hastily gained soon departs. That's one of the proverbs, right? Like you want to be cautious how you approach these things. But there's a lot of money available out there, and there's no reason to shy away from using it if you're confident that you can turn it over and still provide a nice net margin for you and the investor.
Right.
Or use that free money from credit cards and they get all those points. I'm taking my whole family plus, spouses and everyone. We're using airline points. The card that we use to buy our inventory racks up so many points. We're all flying for free. It's costing us like $25 a ticket for our next vacation.
That's
awesome. Nice.
Great.
That's awesome.
Right? So if I just paid cash, I'd be paying out of pocket, $7,000-$8,000 to get us all where we're going. Like, no, free airline miles. Right. So take advantage of those kinds of things. It doesn't cost you anything to rack up those points, pay the card off on time. No reason not to, from my vantage point. Sorry, Dave Ramsey listeners, but I love credit cards for inventory.
That makes sense. I mean, there's certainly a lot of benefits to having them. So, that's something to look into. I do have to do my research on those credit cards, though, and figure out which is the best. So that's the first step. But
there's
looking
plenty
into
of good information in the group. If you just type in that search, go to the Facebook group, silentjim.com, click on the Facebook group. I know you guys know this, but for the listeners, jump in, 73,000 of us. The topic of credit cards comes up frequently, and there's some really good ones. And a lot of people just kind of bounce from one to the next. Hey, if you use our card for 3 months and you buy at least $10,000, we'll give you $1,000. It's like, all right, I can do that in a week. Rack it up, pay it off, wait, the money rolls in, So take advantage of the special offers. If you keep your credit decent, man, the offers, the free money out there. I mean, really, free money is not an exaggeration. They'll loan you money at zero interest. It's just everywhere. It's pretty incredible. Yeah. So proceed with caution, but absolutely pay it off on time, because that
for sure,
smoked fast on some of these.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yep. I definitely don't want to have any interest accumulating on my cards, for sure. It kind of takes you out of the game with your profit.
It absolutely does. Yeah. So you proceed with caution. Yeah. I don't want anyone to interpret what we said today as like, hey, go buy as many credit cards as you can, sign up for them, and max them all out with inventory. That is not what we said today, to be clear.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, what are any other topics or questions or any other advice? I'd love to give you guys one last chance as we start to wrap this one up. If there's anything on your mind.
Do you have anything, Elizabeth?
No, I can't think of anything.
Well, you guys did a great job. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. So I think what I'll do then is I'll talk to the listeners for just a minute as we start to wrap this one up, and thank them for joining us today. And hopefully you enjoyed hanging out with my new friends as much as I did today. They were great guests. We picked up a lot of great tips and information. If you're interested in hearing hundreds of interviews where we've talked to the successful students of the Proven Amazon course and our coaching, just scroll back in time. That's what our podcast is all about. So enjoy those episodes and hear from other great guests. But hey, Nichole, Elizabeth, you guys did such a great job. Thank you so much one more time. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. Appreciate you as well.
Thank you. And are you guys coming to the event next year? You made plans yet? Do you know? In Orlando?
Planning on it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Outstanding. Yeah, the Proven Conference. And I know you guys said you enjoyed the most recent one, and you guys went to the one in Louisville as well, it sounds like. So that's fantastic. Yeah, the next one's going to be in Orlando, May 23rd through 25th of 2024. I know it's a long way out, but start making plans, circle it down on your calendar. Many of our podcast guests are going to be there. We've got well over 200 people already signed up. So that's going to be a good time for sure. I was actually talking just today, right before this episode started. The call I was on was with our keynote speaker for next year, Rabbi Daniel Lappin. He is tremendous. You guys are going to love him if you haven't met him. And he's super excited about that already. So here we are, middle of summer, already talking about spring of 2024. But yeah, make plans. You are going to want to be there for sure. But hey, God bless you guys. Great to hang out with you, all the listeners today. Thanks for hanging out with us. So on behalf of the entire team that puts these together, remember, we're in your corner. We want you to succeed. We do not see you as a competitor. We want to be here for you. So come join our Facebook group. If nothing else, it's free. and come see for yourself. It's a very supportive, caring community. We're rooting for your success, and we'll have another great episode for you again very soon. Talk to you then. Hey, one last thing before I let you go today. A little reminder, today's sponsor was Seller Board. They are a tremendous partner of this community. They've been supporting hundreds of users who listen to this show, who are thrilled with the service they're providing, from a simple tool that helps you know if you're profitable or not in your Amazon business, which of your ASINs are winning, making you money, which ones are losing, costing you some money that need to be cut out. It would be so helpful to know, wouldn't it? Well, that's what Seller Board does. It's very simple to set up, low costs to get started. They've got a special offer for our community, and you can check it out at silentjimdotcom/numbers. Go check them out. Thanks, Seller Board. Hey, we'll have another great episode for you very soon.